A very good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shruti, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all on behalf of eMobility Plus and First View Group to our webinar on digital transformation shaping the future of EV charging value chain. So it's a pleasure to have you with us as we dive into the rapidly evolving and crucial space of EV charging, which is powering the electric vehicle revolution. So, before we dive into our discussion, let me give you a brief overview of what we have in store for you. So, as the demand for electric vehicles accelerates, understanding the complexities of EV charging infrastructure, including its digital transformation, is now very important than ever. This webinar will explore how technology is shaping the future of the EV charging value chain from innovation to implementation. So, in this webinar, we will explore how digital transformation is revolutionizing the EV charging value chain, focusing on how advanced technologies can enhance efficiency, scalability, and sustainability. Our goal is to equip you with the insights needed to navigate and thrive in this rapidly evolving ecosystem. So, before we begin today's session, I'm excited to introduce our flagship event, the fifth edition of EV Charge India 2024, taking place on October 23rd at Radisson Blue Plaza, Outer Ring Road, Bengaluru. So, this event is dedicated to accelerating the development of EV charging infrastructure in India by bringing together industry leaders, policymakers, and innovators. So, it will play a very important role in driving EV adoption, reducing carbon emission, and advancing sustainable mobility solutions. So, let's take a moment to watch a short video about what to expect at this show. So, I'll request my teammate to kindly play the video. Thank you, team. So, so as we continue with today's webinar, so I would like to make a quick announcement. So, following our panel discussion, so we'll be opening the floor for a Q&A session where you will have the chance to engage directly with our session experts. So, please feel free to submit your questions in the question and answer box throughout the session, and our panelists will address them afterward. So now let's dive into our main topic, digital transformation shaping the future of EV charging value chain. So we are privileged to have an esteemed panel of industry leaders joining us today. And in this we have Mr. Mukesh Kumar Bansal, co-founder and CTO, Telio EV, Mr. Siddharth Srinivasan, CTO, Numocity, Mr. Saibal Sinha, Head of Operations, Vertilo, Mr. Deepak Tiwari, Lead Quality Analyst, TerraCharge India. And the session will be expertly guided by Mr. Vivek Agarwal, Associate Director, KPMG India. So I extend a warm welcome to all our distinguished panelists and request you all to be on the screen. So over to you, Mr. Vivek, to lead this discussion.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Shruti, and thank you, Sonia, and thank you, panelists, to join the session and the attendance. So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar titled Digital Transformation Shaping the Future of EV Charging Value Chain. So, in an evolving world that is transitioning to the sustainable energy solution, So digital transformation is playing a pivotal role in shaping the business. So we have seen virtual reality is shaping the customer experience in EV retail business, and there have been a lot of several features like connected vehicles, vehicle security, vehicle performance, state of battery health, remote lock, driver behavior, and we have seen so much things in the vehicle space to enhance the user experience. Now, it's also important to look at from the EV charging perspective, and there have been a number of case studies to improve the user experience from the charging perspective. And we have seen times where the awareness is very minimal on the for the user aspect. So the future of electric vehicles, if we see it, not just depend on the automobile technology, but also depends on the effective charging value chain. And digitization is playing a pivotal role in this, where AI, big data, IoT are having a transformative impact. I'll share you one discussion point that came in during my engagement on the testing ecosystem for EVs. So sooner the data will become so powerful in the EV industry, where you will no longer require a key to unlock any vehicle. You can just sign in using your credential. It will automatically pick your behavior and use the custom set settings, and you can drive the vehicle. So it becomes the future reality, and would say it's an exciting time in the EV charging sector with a paradigm awareness shift, where there was a time where we were just looking at only one EV. Now we are being seeing those EVs are in our colonies, in our areas, where in our neighborhood where we've been living. And so there's a paradigm awareness shift towards the EV, and also there's an emerging technological innovations at hand. So today we have industry stalwarts on our panel who will dwell into the nuances of these perspective and guide us through this progressive journey of digitalization in electric vehicle charging infra. And also, I would like to share that indeed the digitalization has been a driving force into the EV infrastructure landscape, which has been influencing right from the charging to the grid integration, payment solution, and up to the aspects like battery swapping. And also, we are looking at the wireless charging as a solution. So our accomplished panelists today will unfold how digital technologies are revolutionizing the EV charging ecosystem. So thank you, panel members, for joining us today. And let us open the forum to our panelists for a key discussion point. So let's dive into the main agenda, and I'll welcome our first panelist, Mr. Mukesh Bansal. Mr. Bansal, welcome to the webinar. And then Mr. Bansal is a co-founder and CTO of Telio EV, and he's here to discuss on the digital integration in the charging infrastructure and the role of AI and the big data in charging operations. So,
Thanks.
sir, with your exposure and expertise in the integration of AI, big data, and the charging infrastructure, maybe you can brief us on the transformative role AI would play or will playing in the EV operations. Over to you, sir.
Sure. Thanks, Vivek, for introducing me, and thanks, Mobility Plus team for giving this opportunity to come and share my thoughts. So now we are hearing like everywhere is like smart, right? So a lot of data is flying here and there. So similar way, EV is also not away from that. So a lot of data is coming from, be it a car, be it charger, be it any part of the ecosystem. And AI is also playing now a vital role, and it is helping in three to four like major areas into AI, if I say. So like operations of the EV charging ecosystem and the EV infrastructure, right? So first part, like if we cover, so the most important is like managing the like chargers, managing the hardware infrastructure, right? So management and optimization of the charger. So that's one of the most critical area where AI is playing role. Then drive your experience enhancement, or maybe end user experience enhancement, if we say. Then now, as we were like seeing, EVs widely adopted in India by the commercial space, be it cabs, be it delivery vehicles, two wheelers, three wheelers. So fleet management is another area where AI is playing a vital role. And then data, because see, if we see charger management, so most important is predictive charging. So where the AI helps predicting, analyzing the data, analyzing the charging pattern, and charging habits of the driver, and charging behaviors, and it's helping predicting the charging operations. That's one thing. Now, as lot of load is will be there on the grid, because charger will be increasing, load will be increasing on the grid. So AI will help here enable EVs to act as a say energy resources also. Lot of like research is going outside India where people also start utilizing energy stored in the battery during the peak hour, so vehicle to grid kind of applications. So those are the things. Then charging station management, which is another key role for the operations and all. And for fleet companies, as we know, a lot of fleets are there, and every car, the cab or truck, they have a limited power, limited energy which is stored in the battery. So very important for them is to choose a route, to optimize a route which can give them a delivery efficiency, which can help them to keep the route shortest so that they can utilize the energy wisely. So then digital twin comes into picture. So these are couple of use cases where AI is helping, and these are possible only because a lot of data is coming from that. AI can only work, we can only train models when we have a lot of data. So where big data plays a role. So like a lot of analytics, a lot of algorithms. So it is how AI and big data is helping optimizing and increasing the efficiency of EV operations. Yeah.
Sure. I think three clearly, I think noted on the route optimization and the big data and how we can improve the charging efficiency. So if you can provide some examples where the real-time data and the predictive maintenance have improved charging efficiency, because the commercial guys are much more interested on the charging efficiency.
Yes. So charging efficiencies, if you see for a fleet operation companies, so they have hubs with them, right? So they have maybe 10 charger, 20 chargers. So they cannot allow every cab to come and charge and occupy the charging infra. So if I have a data coming from the vehicle saying, okay, the vehicle battery life or maybe state of charge is say 70%. So that can take one more trip. Why I should allow that to come and charge, right? So if we optimize this way, some small use cases, this can help fleet companies to allow and utilize the charging infra in a better way instead of allowing everybody to come charge. And another thing, the charging hubs, all charging hubs are not having fast charger everywhere, right? So they can have a mix and match, and they can maybe few fast chargers then slow chargers. And because of the cost, because fast chargers are very costly, so with the help of AI, if they optimize their charging needs, they can balance out charging. Okay, which vehicle is need a fast charger, which vehicle needs a slow charger. So that way they can optimize their cost as well, running cost, operational cost. Yeah. And another thing, as we already discussed, I mentioned here route optimization. So if I am planning a route wisely, I can run more kilometers, I can do maybe one more delivery, and one more delivery is like a cost efficiency for them, and one more delivery is like more earning for a operation fleet company, right?
Correct, correct. So, so while the charging infra is important, but the infrastructure expansion depends on the data-driven decision making, which we have been saying, and we should leverage more on the same for
Hmm.
enhancing the operation efficiency. So, any final thoughts on the role of AI in the big data, especially when it comes to the public infrastructure space or the private infrastructure space, which is so public infra is not expanding, but the private is. So, your thoughts on the how we can,
Yeah.
because yeah.
True. So public infra, if I say, right, if I am traveling, say from Delhi to Chandigarh, so if I know that my vehicle is giving a data, based on the data, I can, like with the help of AI, I can say, okay, my destination is say 100 kilometer away, and whatever energy I am having with me, okay, I can go say 50 kilometer, right? So at least with the help of data, with the help of these AI and digital applications, the softwares like the we are having a mobile application where a user can find out a charger, tell you if he's having that, right? So with the help of that, user can plan their trip, because they have a real time data coming from the vehicle, how much kilometer they can run. In the application they have, okay, live current location and the next nearest charger location. And even though instead of doing a full charge at one charger, so they can plan a opportunity charging, so that they
Correct.
can save their time also on the route. So at the final
Mhm.
destination they can do a full charging. So this is a real time use case which helps in a public charger also. And public charger, if we utilize this way, that is also optimized utilization of that. So if one charger, one person is seeking for a full charge, instead of that, if they do a optimize like opportunity charging, at least another person in the queue, they can also charge the vehicle. So a lot
Correct.
of similar kind of use cases which
Mhm.
we are seeing day in day out, as we are listening from our customers also. They are facing a lot of preventive maintenance issues. They are not able to find out why public charger is faulty. So with the
Mhm.
help of data from coming from the sensors, coming from the inbuilt electronics in the charger, so a lot of predictions can be made, so that the
Yes,
public
yes.
charging infrastructure is up and running, and that is available all the time. Yeah.
So that's why we have been looking at there has to be an integration of
Yes.
the chargers, and I've seen that if you go on a highway, you mostly find that the public charging infra is not working, or maybe the light is not there, or something is happening. So yes, thank you, Mr. Bansal. Your insights on the role of digital integration and AI in charging operation were very enlightening.
Thanks.
So thank you so much.
Thank
Moving
you.
on to our next panelist, we have Mr. Siddharth Srinivasan. He's the CTO of Nuvo City. So he will be sharing his valuable thoughts on the fast charging, smart grid infra, smart grid integration, payments, and other digital solutions on the EV ecosystem. So greetings, Mr. Srinivasan. Welcome to the webinar. So, Mr. Srinivasan, we understand that you have been diving into the integration of fast charging and the smart grids. Can you share on the advancements in the ultra fast charging space and also the role of smart grids?
Sure. So thank you, Vivek. Also, greetings to my fellow panelists and also eMobility Plus for hosting this event. So I think a common ask all of us have today is like, I think the best way to compare and understand this behavior is looking at our phones. Today, all of us carry around a smartphone. We use it for a lot of activities, from right from business to entertainment. And a common gripe all of us has is, at the end of the day, does it run out of charge? So two ways to go about solving this problem. Either you get a phone with a much larger battery, or you figure out how to charge it faster. So I think we have seen smartphone players already make advancements on both sides. So while there are physical limitations as to how big a battery you could practically carry with in a handheld device. Similarly, there are similar kind of cost as well as physical restrictions in terms of when we look at battery capacities which we can add on to vehicles. That said, of course, there have been advancements in battery cells. Material sciences have helped us improve the density of the batteries. So today, for the same physical size, you do have much larger battery packs which are available in the industry. But at the same time, if you look at different vehicle segments, so if we look at two wheelers typically have batteries from starting from 1.5 all the way to 3 kilowatt hour is the typical size. Then you have these three-wheeler commercial vehicles which are anywhere in the range from 4 to 8 kilowatt hour battery packs is what they carry. And when we look at four wheelers, the smaller ones, all the vehicles smaller than the Tata Nexon have battery capacities less than 30 kilowatt hour. A lot of mid segment vehicles 30 to 40 kilowatt hour or up to 50, and luxury segments which is 80 to 100 kilowatt hour battery pack. Now, when we look at fast charging, we are looking at also the ability of these batteries to, accept higher rates of currents and, able to replenish themselves much faster. Now, with that, technology has made advancements. So today we are looking at, so for most of us who would charge an EV at our office or at a home, it's always a AC charger, which is typically slow. So your wall box, it's either a 3.3 kilowatt, which is nothing but a socket, but many people are today switching to a 7 kilowatt wall box. But when fleets and other kind of commercial users or people who want to minimize the charging downtime are there, we are looking at charging speeds going up to 22 kilowatt on AC. Then DC, we start seeing public charging infrastructure offering 30 kilowatt, 60 kilowatt, all the way to 100 for most, passenger and private vehicle use. But the commercial segment, the moment we start looking at large vehicles, especially the buses and trucks, we are talking of batteries of a much bigger size. So we are anywhere looking from 100 kilowatt hour battery pack going all the way to 300 and 350 kilowatt hour battery pack. Now, when we look at such large batteries, charging speeds of even 100 kilowatt don't cut it, because the downtime which such a slow charger imposes on the fleet's operation significantly limits the utility of such vehicles. Because end of the day, as we were discussing with a couple of our fellow panelists earlier, is the money is in how much time the vehicle is running, right? You have to sweat the assets. The more you sweat the assets is where you both realize financial benefits as well as environmental benefits. So this is where we have seen even charging technology actually make advances. So in terms of ultra fast charging, we are looking at charging speeds beyond 150 kilowatt. So we already have commercially available technology which is taking charging speeds easily to 200 to 300 kilowatt. So there are a couple of large charge point operators who have already deployed these kind of charging infrastructure both for heavy vehicles as well as for fleets. And overall, the industry is also making further advances. So we also see uh, EVs itself adopting high voltage architecture. So today, most of the vehicles, the current batch are all 400-volt architecture systems. So they are usually capped to about 240 kilowatts. So faster than that, practically they cannot do charging. But the new generation of EVs are also having battery technology and power systems which work at 800 volt and above. Now, these systems open up the possibility of having even higher speeds. So we are looking at speeds of 270, 350 kilowatt being available on commercial application. And now for large capacity trucks and buses, there is even a new charging standard known as megawatt charging standard, which is emerging. Now here we are looking at much larger battery pack, and we are looking at voltages even exceeding 1000 to 1500 volts, and with current capacity going all the way up to 600 amps. So while if you look at these numbers, they are an order of magnitude higher than the 16 amps which a 7 kilowatt charger would give you. So there is definitely a lot of progress and advancement which has been made on both the vehicle battery side as well as the charging infrastructure side to deliver much faster charging speeds. So the one additional part we need to be aware of is, while we have vehicles and systems which can take in a higher amount of power, from where does this power come, right? So anyways, we are all today dependent on facilitating the supply via the grid, and that is where I think a lot of interplay between the charging infrastructure, the vehicle, as well as the smart grid becomes absolutely essential. So smart grid technology plays, a very critical role in first is enabling the power supply, a reliable power supply for such high power equipment. So when we look at, even a single 350 kilowatt charger to be installed, we need at least 400 kV of supply in that location. So if you have at least two chargers or three chargers, which is what large commercial operators would put in a single depot, almost you would need to also look at an infrastructure plan which also includes maybe setup of a mini substation to ensure you have that kind of a thing. So these are some of those requirements for enabling faster charging. But this also comes back to the thing, like I'm sure which a few of our other fellow panelists will touch upon, the investment which is required, right, to set up such high speed charging infrastructure is also something which we see which keeps growing, and also requires a lot of thought in terms of planning for the infrastructure to be ready to enable a higher speed charging technologies.
Correct, correct. So while there's a lot of thrust on the optimizing the charging times and the energy consumption, and if you run across the India, you will find there are different rates of the energy consumption and then the charge which the utility charge from the different consumers. Although there is a only the one part tariff which has been charged, but the rates are differing from uh, partner to partner to utility to utility. So how do you see digital solutions will help or helping in optimizing these energy consumptions?
So thanks, Vivek. I think pricing is a very sensitive topic. I think there are a lot of elements which go into pricing. So I think we have today, like the market is being served by both utility companies, which are mostly government agencies. So for them, the mandate has been more about providing charging services, make it equally available to as many people. But whereas, of course, there are private sector companies which are investing in this, looking at it as a new business opportunity. So when we look at the overall costs which a charge point operator would incur in terms of running their operation, so first is of course the procurement of real estate, where you can set up the site or depot. Then of course the investment in terms of the charger, any kind of grid or any local electricity distribution upgrades which they have to pay for, and setting up infrastructure is one kind of a capex they incur. In terms of regular operations, while there is a rental component, electricity plays a significant part of the running costs of this operations. Now, electricity, of course, different state utility companies have come up with different schemes. There are various states which have published a special subsidized EV tariff. So, in case of operators who have been able to, get those subsidized tariff, many of them we do see them passing on the benefits to the customers. And also, the other thing is many of the operators are also looking at tapping into renewable energy. So, wherever you are also able to offset your cost of electricity by either setting up rooftop or on-site solar, where you can get the net metering benefits, is also some places where charge point operators have been able to lower the price. But that said, there are also few I would say challenges in making lower cost electricity accessible to all. So one is, of course, certain discoms also require that for special tariffs you need to get a new meter. So getting a meter, getting a sanction is a bureaucratic process. So that is something which takes time. Similarly, upgrades is something which grid companies usually hold off. Like if you request even for a capacity or a load sanction to be increased, those are things which they delay time. So in case of such circumstances, the charge point operators also have to fall back upon maybe investing in battery storage and few other things to meet their immediate energy requirements. So that again is an additional investment. So those are few of their cost drivers. But that said, I think when we look at it from a consumer point of view, I think the good part is India has a very healthy ecosystem with strong competition between both government as well as private players. So we are seeing, some kind of small pricing war also, which happens between large CPOs, which is kind of keeping the pricing in check, which is, of course, I think a very big win for customers.
Yeah. So, in the last discussion, Mr. Mukesh touched on the vehicle to grid, and then this is the area where lot of pilots have been installed. So, in terms of there are two things to it. So, one is managing the peak demands, and then there's an ancillary market which India is also proposing to have, where whatever the battery would be there in that vehicle will also do a reverse. So it's a similar way. It's a reverse logistics. It's a reverse charging and backing back to the grid. So how you see maybe your perspective on the integration of the EV charging infra using AI to manage those peak demands?
Sure. So I think the role of AI and such kind of smart systems in managing the infrastructure is, it's got a very important role to play. So while Mukesh touched upon a couple of use cases as to how fleets can utilize it better, how infrastructure uptime and management can be done, I think AI definitely also plays a role in terms of orchestrating this real-time interaction with the grid. So grid, we do have so grids typically have demand response programs which help them communicate their load capacity at any point in time to systems who are all consumers of the utility load. So AI can help in improving the matching of the demand response program offered by the utility with what power is being consumed by a charge point operator. So both forecasting based models to do better match and fit, and also optimizing for price. So if energy price is dynamic based on the load, so in certain cases we also have utilities adding an additional surcharge in case your power consumption is during peak hours. So that is definitely one role. So coming to how we can also play a role in stabilizing the grid, I think two parts to it. So first part is about moderating and managing the EV charging load. So while we understand, like it is ideal for EV charging load to take to happen during hours when the grid usually has a low load. But sometimes for practical considerations, both for operations of fleets as well as private vehicles, it is still necessary that they have to plug in during the peak hours. But during that time, there is still room for optimization. So one is based on the state of charge of the vehicles. You can decide what kind of charging speeds you want to offer, or depending on the number of vehicles which are plugged in a given depot at a given time, how do you want to further optimize? So one is throttling and managing the charging rates. Second part, as you rightfully pointed, EV also opens up another possibility where it plays the role of a storage. So storage systems are very valuable to the grid from a grid stabilization point of view. So I think it is definitely possible that V2G technology, which helps the vehicle, actually provides DC in the batteries, again converted back to AC and supplied back to the grid, is something which is still a possibility. That said, I think, of course, there are a few concerns today here in the market, because one is you need bidirectional chargers, and again, the utility companies have also not given a very clear guideline to say that when these kind of bidirectional chargers are connected to vehicles, are they regulated? Because again, the grid also needs an ability to even turn off these devices. So maybe as the regulation evolve, I think the participation of vehicle also as a grid stabilization option will definitely bring it. And that definitely opens up the possibility for both vehicle owners as well as fleets to also participate financially in that. Because today, in a lot of other markets, when you participate in demand response, the utility gives you some rewards, either in forms of money or some kind of discounts. I think those are key areas in which definitely software and AI systems, with the emergence of technology, will help both the grid manage with this new kind of consumer of high power load.
So thank you, Mr. Srinivasan, for your insights on smart grid integration and digital solutions for this ecosystem, and those were very enlightening.
Thank you.
And then we welcome our third panelist, Mr. Saibal Sinha. He's head of operations at Vertigo. He's a Macquarie Group entity, and he would like to shed light on the challenges to the EV charging network and the role of government and non-government in addressing them. So welcome, Mr. Sinha. Mr. Sinha, can you please be able to share your inputs on how the introduction of digital solution has helped to overcome the challenges in scaling infrastructure, especially in bridging the urban-rural divide, which we have been seeing in the having the charging infrastructure?
Yeah, digital solutions have been very, very helpful to the extent that, see, from the user's perspective, if you see in the commercial space, there are small commercial users, there are electric bus users, and now increasingly electric truck users. So these are separate entities who are roaming around in different routes. So the question comes is, how do they avail, or how do they come to know where to get the charging facility done, at what time the charging is available, how they will do the booking. So here the digital solutions uh, overall helps a lot. Now, in a country like India, or even in different states, one single CPO or one government entity cannot arrange everything. So there has to be an interconnectivity, which is what we are witnessing now through various apps given by the government, where it has enabled people. And by people, I am not saying the fleet operators per se. I am saying individual users to avail the option of EV much better. Fleet operators, they are better equipped in terms of information, but not the individual customers. So digital connect on the highways, digital connect within the city, what is coming in is enabling them to take this risk, because EV asset at the end of the day is definitely costlier than normal ICE product. So for them, this leap of faith is being enabled by the digital initiatives. At the same time, at the back end, if I say from the finance perspective also, the homework is incomplete. Like, what is the resale value of the asset? That also the digital imprint, the information through the digital network gives us, can give us. The data has not matured that much. Actually, what is the life of the asset of a charging unit, of a transformer in a compact substation, in a substation, in a big charging units or depots. So these are various things which are work in process. Not only that, the efficiency reading of batteries is where there is still a long play still involved. What is the efficiency of the battery? What is the SOH which different batteries over different routes are enabling? So that is something also which is very critical, not only to the OEMs, also to the leasing financing companies, because that is how the end pricing will matter. Siddharth touched upon all those points very well. uh, the battery life, all that calculation, and what to do in a during the regular operation of a vehicle, what precautions to take. These are certain answers which comes through the digital initiatives. And those manufacturers who are more advanced in digital technology, who are better off in absorbing and reading these signals, they are better, because then they are more able to help the customer in answering their queries. Otherwise, just selling a product based on certain brand name will not help. In fact, before even this our panel opened up or discussion opened up, we were having some short discussion. There are areas where the vehicle is not on the mainstream road. It is not checked by any checkpoints. So there has to be digital footprint to check what is the payload of that vehicle. Even in the CSL tender, they specify what is the passenger capacity to be used, but there is no monitoring on the number of passengers overload which is happening on the vehicle day in day out. So what is the digital footprint of that? Because it has got an impact on the current route, it has impact on the battery life. So these has to be studied at both ends, at the commercial end as well as the manufacturing end. So I mean, a technology like electric vehicle, with electric vehicle infrastructure, with so many customers, small entities as well as fleets, digital is the way to go forward. There has to be a better coordination and appreciation from the OEMs as well as financiers to understand what is the digital footprint. So, which is what we have also been doing, I mean, in a very big way, as to track each and every of our fleet in as many parameters as possible, because data is ultimately power. So that is one thing which people have to take care of that. Yeah.
So as we are all aware that there are countries where the private has taken a leap of faith developing the entire EV charging infra, and we have seen examples of Tesla, and then there are other Asian countries where the private sector has made enabled the entire EV charging space. So how would you see in India the role of government vis-a-vis the non-government sector in enabling and promoting the EV charging? And also there are issues with the integration part, because there are different mobile apps which the service providers has enabled, and each have different operation features. So somebody might have certain number of apps for different service providers. So how you think that while we are moving towards the entire end and moving towards from swapping to wireless charging, so over to you, your views on the
Yeah.
promotions.
In fact, government of India has played a very critical role uh, in all the segments. That's why we see in India the EV ecosystem is very democratic. It is not simply personal vehicles which is leading the charge. It is the three-wheeler commercial. It is the two-wheeler slow speed, high speed. It is the personal transportation. Apart from that, there is the bus segment, which is we are one of the largest EV bus ecosystem in the world, and that has been possible thanks to government initiative. Now, government through CSL norms laid out very good norms, very clear-cut norms for the adoption of EV buses instead of ICE vehicle. Now, two very critical things which came in along with this norms is the availability of land. Every tender or every STU operation came with a ready-made depot location. Of course, the tender winners had to develop it a little bit, but the land was available. Along with the land, what was available was the provision for high tension line, the high voltage lines, and the provision was available. These are two very critical things for heavy duty EV application like bus or truck. So government has played its role. It has laid the roadmap for EV tariff throughout the country. Different states have their variation, but yes, guidelines are there. But in case of private sector commercial vehicle has been little bit behind compared to the government sector, primarily because of setting up EV ecosystems in different parts. Land procurement is a very tough task. There are no promotional rates as it is for land, so it has to be at market rate, so which is an hindrance. Secondly, procuring high tension line has its challenges, which is though tariff is there, special tariffs are there, but there is no special provision that if it is for EV then it has to go through an express route or something like that. Now recently on 17th of September, government has released a circular where they have stipulated certain timelines for EV substation creation, which is the step in the right direction. So once land and electricity supply is taken care, so there is the finances who are coming in, like our organization which is stepping in. This will help in a big way the adoption of EV in the private sector. So private sector is evaluating that, and they are definitely in that cusp of the adoption. but there are no single entities, just like the GCC operation in STUs, where the entire ecosystem is created and somebody comes in and start operating. So possibly we would be one of those pioneers in the country who are providing end-to-end solutions, from the infrastructure to the land to approvals, everything for operating EV buses. So that will bridge the gap in the private sector.
Yeah, yeah. So I've noted that. And thank you, Mr. Sinha. Those insights were helpful, and we look forward for similar private sector participation for the end-to-end charging infra as well as for the operations of the EVs. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Finally, we have Mr. Deepak Tiwari, the lead quality analyst at the Terra Charge, who will like to share his expertise on the and views on the innovative solutions in the field of EV charging infra. So over to you, Mr. Deepak. So the first question I have is the role of blockchain in ensuring the secure transaction has been notable. So can you share how the Terra Charge is using the blockchain for automated billing?
Mm, well, first of all, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to represent TerraCharge here, and thank you, eMobility Plus. Um, talking about blockchain, I think it is one of those technologies that can be very useful and I would say pivotal in actually securing and transparently, decentralizing the billing for EV charging. So basically, it is eliminating the need for third-party intermediaries, right? It is helping us, more seamless transactions for EVs, like not just the owners, but also for, the charging stations and the fleet operators here. Apart from that, what we can see is basically blockchain is tamper-proof, right? So it is actually somewhat securing our transactions on top of it. It is also giving us the confidence that with each transaction, we have a record of what is the billing, or I would say when, who we are dealing with, or what is the, I would say, amount and everything in general that deals with it. Apart from that, I would say not just securing it, it is very good for, I would say P2P energy trading too. Since we know we would know how much energy we are consuming at one point of time, it would be very much easier for CPOs at one point to show that to help go with the vehicle to grid operations here, like our different speakers that have spoken here before. Like they were touching to points where vehicle to grid can be your future options to, I would say, lessen the burden on the electricity grid that is already too much, as we could have seen in the summers. I would say this gives us a very, I would say, unique opportunity in revolutionizing the energy distribution system altogether. Apart from that, it would help the EV owners to also become, somewhat of an energy producers as well, wherein we spoke about, how they can store the energy in batteries itself. Apart from that, they can give it back to the grid whenever required. I would like to talk something more about just blockchain in securing transactions. I could talk about how fast charging is actually picking up pace, and I think that should be something that has not been highlighted way too much. Like, previously we have talked about the running cost and the fast and slow charging altogether. We have to also try and understand how different kinds of, I would say, ports that is into EV charging is affecting the entire ecosystem altogether. Like we spoke about 22 or 11 kilowatt AC charger or a 7 kilowatt AC charger. We have to understand the kind of gun that is got associated with it. It's a type 2 gun for a four-wheeler basically. But in case of two-wheelers, we get this 3.3 or probably a 10 kilowatt charger, which is AC slow charger. What we need more would be, I would say, fast charging in two-wheelers, as well as I would say fast charging that is, very convenient for four-wheelers. It's because if you look at the prices for fast charging in India right now, it's on top of the roof. It's pretty expensive for, I would say, any person, not just in fleets or business, even a common person to afford it right now. So I believe if we want to accelerate the growth of EV infrastructure altogether in India, I think a lot of CPOs have to come together here and make sure that it is easily accessible. Just like how the internet revolution happened in India, if we all know, the cost of, I would say, data at one point of time was over the roof. But when major players come in and they, take charge and they try to, get it to common people, It is then when the technology is being adapted, like, by everybody in general. And we already know that India is the largest market for two-wheeler segment, and there is huge upside for, B2B in India. As we know, we are one of those highest consuming, I would say, population, wherein there is an emphasis for manufacturing as well. So understanding this, that making EV accessible and making the charging infrastructure accessible to everybody would actually, bring in great strides in EV, I would say, charging infrastructure ecosystem. Apart from that, we spoke about dynamic energy pricing. We also spoke about, moderating and managing, EV charging infra over roads. I think digitally, it has got a big role by, I would say, big data, not just by big data, by IoT as well, to understand when and where we have to put in charging stations so that people can actually plan their routes and their trips accordingly. It's because one of the major challenges that I've seen by people or by consumers in general is they're very, I would say, conscious about where they want to take their EVs. I mean, fair and square saying that we've got over 10,000 charging stations in India as of, August 2024, as said by the Press Information Bureau, by PIB. But we have to understand that these infrastructure developments have been happening in major metro cities, not in, I would say, connecting routes that takes place into tier 2 or tier 3 cities. If we have to build this capacity to integrate EV, just like IC vehicles that has happened, we have to understand that the charging infra and the EV penetration has to happen in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So, not taking much of everybody's time, I would say, yeah, we have to actually use, a lot of, I would say, you know, uh, whatever, what I can say is we have to use our capabilities very precisely so that we can understand what are those locations and areas that we need to cover so that we have the all over coverage of the entire map, entire travel like route, so that people are very much open and frequent to use EVs, just like the ICs. Uh, I'm
So,
open for any questions that you've got.
yeah. So, Mr. Tiwari, I have a theory on the charging. So, whenever
Yeah.
we have to charge, we either charge a phone at home or at a place of work. So, mostly at a
Mm.
place of work, it's a opportunity charging that we do. So that's why we thought that most of the, as Mr. Mukesh has also said, there's a huge market of opportunity charging that we are not tapping. And also on the pricing, if you see, there's a water at home, but there's also bottled water at other locations. So while you have the water maybe from RO at around 4 or 5 rupees, but you pay for the bottled water around 20, 30 rupees or 50 rupees as well. So that's only on the amount you will need to pay for the opportunity charging, and then there's ability and affordability in that particular scenario. The people are ready to pay because they need a charging, and we have also seen example that we people are not working or looking or living in a scenario where there's a ground floor, so people are living in the apartments, and there's also a need for the public charging or the private charging infra to have a place, because they no longer the space for the vehicle to get it charged, because most of us are living in the apartments way, and then there with the future, and then we would not say that that would be over the period of time. And also I'll just kind of date you that there are more than 50 or 1,000 out retail outlets where the government has already given the directions to the oil PSUs and also to the NHI to build the charging infra on the national highways and also on the retail outlets, and most of them is already in working progress. So thank you so much. And then I just wanted to have your last thoughts on the, as you have touched on the peer-to-peer energy trading, and then they have a future potential impacts. And I was just imagining, if I have the battery and I'm not going anywhere, I can at least transfer that entire charge maybe to the electricity grid and can earn some revenue out of it. So maybe in that case, there will be transaction to the utility, but that can also happen to another person, or maybe the person who needs that particular charge. So that's a peer-to-peer energy trading that would coming up. So if you can tell more on the use of data analytics which you have been doing to identify the optimal locations. So while we understand that availability of land and HT line are a critical concerns, but your views on the how the data analytics can play important role in identifying the optimal locations for the new charging stations.
Sure. Well, first of all, I would, you know, like to say that I think data analytics is actually bringing in a very new perspective to what the established player are already doing in EV infrastructure. We have to understand here that predictive charging is one of those things that would be a up and coming thing in future. It's because we have to understand people's pattern of how they are charging their EVs, the consumption, and not just that, also the route optimization. So if we can see that if a person, let's say X, is using a charge is charging his EV around 10 to 12 p.m. every day, or like 12 p.m. to 1 a.m. every day, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. every day, we can understand that the load is gonna be there at certain site always for that given period of time. So in this manner, we can, I would say, manage the entire load, and not just the load. We can also see that how much consumption we can forecast in future and how much it would be needed, because the entire EV ecosystem depends on electricity, and energy is something that is of, I would say, utmost importance in this. And managing this thing is, I would say, something that is very critical and pivotal. So that would not just help us in predicting and optimizing the process altogether. That would also help us in, I would say, keeping the cost dynamics at a very bare minimum. Because unless and until everybody is shifting, I would not say not a lot of people, but majority is shifting towards EV and consumption of electricity, I don't think so that this thing can take off in the way it should be. Apart from that, we have to also see how we can manage the EV charging load and moderate that. Um, so I think to improve the overall efficiency, what we can do is we can monitor the patterns, the peak hours, and also improve the I would say keep maintenance for all the charging stations. It's because a lot of challenges also come in charging stations when we go there and we try to charge the vehicles while it is offline, or it's faulty, or for some or the other reason we're not able to access the facilities, right? So I think in this manner it would be very easy for CPOs and I would say all the other parties involved in this to keep this up and running and make it more cost effective to people. Because at the end of it, Indian audience demands one thing for sure from customers, and that is how cost effective is it going to be. And currently, yes, EVs are very cost effective in terms of their usage, in terms of the running, but it is very expensive to procure one. And the varying rates of, I would say, CPOs that they charge for charging across various, I would say, landscapes is actually making it a little difficult for a breakthrough in this ecosystem right now. Is because every CPO is having their own, I would say, bar or certain criteria of how much they want to
Sure,
charge.
Mr.
So I think a moderation is very much required in order for a wider
Yeah.
adoption.
Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Tiwari, for your views. And it has been a fruitful discussion, and I'm certainly have learned a lot. And then I would like to extend my gratitude to all the panelists and the audience for their valuable participation, especially the panelists. And then while we open the floor for Q&A, I'll transfer. So I'll just share my closing remarks. The future of EV charging lies in harnessing the digital innovation to thrive on the efficient and sustainable power. We touched upon various aspects like vehicle to grid, and also touched upon the role of AI, and then digital innovations which can thrive on the efficient and uh, cutting edge technology, which surely driving towards the greener future. So thank you all, and looking forward to have you all back in the future webinars. Thank you so much, and over to you, Shruti.
Thank you, sir. And it was like a brilliant session. And thank you for bridging the diverse interest of the industry with the insights from our esteemed expert panel members. And now it's time for our Q&A session. So, like we have received a set of questions. So I'll just launch them on the platform. So Mr. Shubhanshu Kumar is asking, in the IC vehicle fleet industry, SMEs make up nearly 80% of the operators, thriving by managing their fleets efficiently and optimizing cost through tried and other methods. And in continuation that is also addressing like however when it comes to EV fleets, we see a significant difference. So the majority of successful operators in the EV ecosystem are large startups driven primarily by advanced data driven decision telematics and just a minute, and controller area network between CPOs and fleet operators. Um, Given the operational hurdles such as lack of comprehensive infrastructure, fluctuating energy costs, vehicle maintenance, and complexities of optimizing fleet operations. So he's asking, do you agree that the current EV ecosystem is not yet ready for SMEs due to complexity of the technology and operational challenges?
Take this question.
Shruti, if we can direct the question to the fellow panelist, and then maybe going
Yeah,
ahead.
it seems this question is tailor-made for. Okay, can I answer that?
For you, yeah.
Yes, sir, please go ahead.
Okay, now it's a very valid question. In fact, somewhere during my discussion, I was mentioning about not just the fleet operators, it is the individual customers also, like these SMEs, which Subhranshu has raised. EV adoption will increase only when these SMEs, single unit or double unit users, adopt more and more EVs. Now, there is a huge ecosystem in ICE already available. They are aware about EV, but what prevents them from adopting EV is this the attendant infrastructure. Like they have the vehicle, but they don't have the charging infrastructure. They don't have the whereabouts as to when they will get the opportunity charging. They are not sure as to what will be the life of the vehicle in terms of resale value, because normally the factor is there after certain years the battery has to be changed, whether the battery will be valid for the vehicle at that point of time. So these are certain questions which plague any operator, especially in the commercial vehicle field, because they have to have that because they take loans for the vehicle. So if the correct ecosystem is provided in terms of charging infrastructure which they do not own, but they only utilize as and when they charge, if they have the right digital connect as to if they go on a route, or if they even if they change their route, but they have the know-how that these charging points are available, and that confirms to heavy charging requirements, especially in commercial vehicle like 240 kilowatt chargers or 180 kilowatt chargers. So where those chargers are available, at what rate it is available, then they will be able to work out their TCO, total cost of ownership. Once they get the total cost of ownership vis-a-vis what they are having with their ICE, then only they will be able to take that plunge. Today, the question is very rightly mentioning that fleet operators have somehow worked it out. They have worked with the financiers, they have worked with the CPOs on their route-based, charging infrastructure and all that. But whether that is accessible to a small operator or not, that's the question. This is where financiers and OEMs will have to play a role, where the digital initiatives become very important. If they are, educated through these digital means, that wherever they go, they will be able to identify which chargers are available as per their requirement at what time, and they have the proper backing of the OEM as far as battery is concerned. So maintenance is taken care of through the OEM, and the financer is standing by them even during the you know uh, uh, refurbishment of their battery. After the end of life of the first battery life, the next one is coming in. Then they will have a full confidence that throughout 8 or 10 year period, beyond the EMI term, they will be able to use the vehicle and recover money. So if that happens, there is no fear. That's how the industry has to be evolved. So everybody will have to hold the hands. And there I believe the digital footprint is very important. Very, very important. Currently,
And
just a minute.
sorry, sorry.
Sorry. Currently, the ICE customers are not so much into the digital tech as much as EV is. So they have to upgrade themselves. That is required. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
I would like to add something to this question. So, like he was asking that what would be the current if the current EV ecosystem is not ready for SMEs, basically because of the complexities of technology and operational challenges. And on top of it, what can be the strategies that we can take to enable the SMEs to thrive in the space, uh, particularly in terms of reducing operational burdens. Well, first of all, we have to understand that there are not a lot of huge EV fleet companies in India. I mean, we can talk about a few. We can name a few, but they're on fingertips. Very few. Secondly, major players across EV fleets are SMEs, major players all over India. Let's talk about Delhi, Pune, Chennai, Bombay, Calcutta. Uh, so it's a very untapped and I would say a very unorganized, I would say, sector even now. What I have seen in what I've experienced until now is a lot of them actually have planned this for an ETS alternative. So by ETS I mean is employee transport system. So you cannot take your EV and just plan a trip to from for example from Delhi to Chennai just like that. It takes huge planning about the amount of charges you've got, about where you can stop and use that opportunity not just to charge but to refresh yourself and everything. But in ETS, it is not like that. You are pretty much aware about what routes you're supposed to be taking, how many employees you're supposed to be picking up, and when your vehicle is going to be back into the depot. So, in that manner, I think EVs have got an upper edge on ICs. Secondly, again, for ETS, I would say what EVs are doing better than ICs is the rate at which you can operate these vehicles. Guys, you have to understand, let's say a Tigor T, for example, Express T, which has got a battery capacity of over approximately 30 kilowatt. On a full charge, on a very good day, on a full charge, it gives you approximately 300 kilometers of run, right? So it's hardly costing you what, 1 rupee or maybe 80 paise per kilometer. So this way, it's very economically viable for people who are running ETS. It's because it's saving them a lot of money. Thirdly, what we also have to understand is not just ETS, it's a great initiative for the L3 and L5. So for naive people, I would say L3 would be the battery rickshaws and very small, pickup vehicles, and the L5 would be the pickup trucks up to the size of a Tata Ace, for instance, or of course Terra Motors vehicle in instance. So what we can do is L5 has got a fixed route, a fixed pattern in where they would be delivering the products. So in this, you could do route mapping beforehand because you have the information up on your table the previous night or a couple of days before that where you need to travel, where all you need to take stops. So in this manner, you can have enough planning to understand what would be the charging need for the entire day, and you can also plan out opportunity charging in a certain, I would say, a locality or an area to understand, I mean, sorry, to cater the needs and also recharge your vehicle. So I think in comparison to IC, or I would say in contrast to the questions, I think EVs are very much a success to people who are into either ETS for employee transport or into I would say end-to-end last mile delivery. And that is the reason why major giants in I would say delivery in operations or in e-commerce are shifting towards, I would say, EV ecosystem, or I would say EV vehicles. It's because it's very cost effective and it's very good at it. One thing they have to do work on it, and we were talking beforehand about it, is the payload capacity on how much the battery or the vehicle can carry, because that is what at the end the user is going to look at. If you going to use this for from the delivery point of view or in the operations point of view, you have to take care of the load as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for beautifully addressing those questions. Now, moving on to our next question. So, how can highways provide mobile chargers or battery backups to help EVs reach nearby charging stations, especially during unexpected situations?
So I'll take this question, right? So nowadays, a lot of new ventures, new startups who comes up, which provide mobile power banks. So, and they also came up with mobile applications where people can book a charge, like mobile power bank. So that's one option which is coming up well, and definitely as like EV's new segment, right? And everybody is seeing day-to-day problems and new innovation, new ideas are coming up. So maybe in coming time we'll see that on the highways also, like we are now seeing a lot of sideways on the large highways. They are sideways. So we'll start seeing like this roadside assistance companies. Like if my vehicle got hurt, so I'm giving a call. The similar concept will definitely come.
Yes,
Yeah,
just to
agreed.
add, there are the companies who also kind of transport the battery banks to the near location, and then they can charge the equipment easily.
Right. Yeah. Just to add, I think a couple of OEM companies are already aware of these kind of requirements of customers and are tying up with on-site service providers to offer these portable charging solutions. So they either have a truck which has a small charger, either with the diesel genset or with the battery storage available to help out customers in case of emergency. Because every time towing might not be a very viable option for EVs which break down because of lack of charge.
Awesome. Thank you, sir, for addressing that question. Now, moving on to our last question. We just received it from our LinkedIn. One like attendee is asking, what is your point of view on incentivizing the maintenance of charging points?
Okay, maybe I'll start and will also ask the other fellow panelists to chime in. So I think a lot of CPOs as well as government agencies are today looking to, have the part of operating and maintenance outsourced to other agencies because again, if you see overall the EV charging value chain has room for many players. So there is room for specialized players who focus only on site maintenance and taking care of the uptime of already existing installed base as a business opportunity. And a lot of government agencies are today actually opening out tenders, calling for third parties to come and take up these existing sites where infrastructure is there for maintenance and operations. So I think that will be another business activity which will take off in a big way as more and more sites come for maintenance and operations for third parties.
In fact, the maintenance business of EVSEs is over a large contract period like 8 years to 10 years is far higher than the asset value. So electric vehicle supply equipment manufacturers are very keen for maintenance work. In fact, in the GCC contract, where it is pay per kilometer, most of the auto OEMs have tied up with charging CPOs on OPEX model. Their back-end contract is also pay per kilometer. Now that has got extended to the private sector also. They supply, they erect, and they take on the maintenance, which is a very healthy sign. And if they have the financial wherewithal to withstand 8 10 years, it's a very good remunerative contract. So it's a win-win situation for both the OEMs, the EVSEs, as well as the financiers. Everybody is secure that way.
And I believe that it is, I think, a very important. I think it's a very valid question here about incentivizing the maintenance of charging points. It's because uh, we have to understand, like, technically or theoretically, it's all very black and green here. But when you look at the ground reality, a lot of charging points that we come across every day are either faulty for some or the other reason. Maybe it might be the technical fault, or it might be some or the other, downtime. But we have to understand that this impacts a lot of people, I would say a lot of businesses altogether. So if government is actually somewhat incentivizing people to take up, I would say, the mantle to maintain the EV infrastructure, the charging points, I think this would actually be very pivotal in driving forward this EV revolution altogether, because people will have more confidence that they will be sure that they're going to find a charger, because we can understand the range anxiety when a person is going through a route and he is not able to find a charger, and when he reaches there and when he finds out that okay, the charger is not working, so you can understand the situation a person is in. So if we are able to actually hold and manage the infrastructure we have already built, like I was mentioned by Mr. Agarwal earlier, that we have got much over than 10,000 charging points in India. We can understand that if we can actually manage all of these charging stations across India, I think EV adoption would not be much of a challenge for people, because I think government through Fame 3 is also incentivizing people. not to just adopt EV, but also, use park and charge facilities, and also EV in commercial transportation. So yeah, that's what my take is on this.
Yeah, so just to add, the maintenance of the charging point will be an issue for today. Maybe the awareness is low, the charging point footfall is low, but in the near future, maybe 2 to 3 years, you will see that if there is an incentive or there is a footfall at the charging point location, the maintenance provider, the service provider will also be kind of geared to maintain the assets. While there have been policies and even the government is also looking at the subletting the entire aspects for the maintenance as well.
Yeah, and I think this can be a whole new vertical within this ecosystem for maintenance of charges and the infra that we have already built.
So that's all for now. Thank you so much for addressing all the questions posted by our audience. And as we conclude this enlightening webinar, I would like to express my gratitude to all the attendees for your time and support. And a special thanks to our esteemed panelists for your invaluable contributions. We promise to be back soon with another exciting session. And once again, don't forget to join at the EV Charge India 2024, which is going to take place on October 23rd at Radisson Blue Plaza, Outer Ring Road, Bengaluru. So, I would like to request my teammate to kindly play the short video again, and we would like to invite you all for the event. Thank you all once again, and happy weekend. The floor is now open for networking. Thank you, speakers. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all. And maybe in the chat, I would like to share that we have also come up with the maturity model, maturity index, and it's free to use. So you may use that to understand where you are in the entire span of network, and then you can see for yourself also where you can grow. So what is the gap in terms of the maturity? Maybe that it would be useful to take some decisions. I would share that.